Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of the Idaho House Republicans podcast, where we get to know the legislators that you have sent to the legislature a little bit better. And today's guest is going to be Brandon Mitchell, and he is Legislative District 6, and he's in his third term, right?
Third term.
Well done. So, by the way, I want to tell you a little bit about Brandon. You're not going to even believe it, because I actually asked him, did he use AI to make this up? So listen to this. He's a small business owner, co-owner with his wife since 2013. And he was a Boy Scouts leader for 2006 to 2018. He's a certified therapeutic foster parent with his wife. He's a scuba instructor. He's a second black belt Taekwondo guy. Holy cow. And you've been married to your wife, Marcy, for 34 years.
36 now.
30. You got to update the website.
Got to update my website.
And you have one son, two daughters. One adopted, one foster.
Yep.
Wow. So anyway, and you have 6 grandkids too.
I do.
That's up to date?
It is up to date.
Okay. We don't want to miss the grandkids.
No, nothing's changed there.
Anyway, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
So tell me, what committees do you serve on?
Well, I serve on a whole bunch of interim committees, but the main one for this session is I serve on JFAC, which is Joint Finance-Appropriations Committee, and then I'm the Vice Chair of Transportation and Defense. I'm also a co-chair of the America 250 Committee.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, I've got a couple of other ones that I work on.
So, Brandon, tell people about Legislative District 6. Is it rural? Is it urban? Where is it located in Idaho? And what do your constituents care about? Why have they sent you here?
Okay, so District 6 encompasses all of Latah County. So we've got the University of Idaho in our district. It encompasses all of Lewis County, and then it encompasses the outskirts of Nez Perce County. So it's kind of, I don't want to say all real rural, but for the most part it's rural. So we've got a pretty big distance between the ends of it. As far as what they sent me here for, I've got out and talked to the different people, and they've all had worries about property tax. That was one of their biggest concerns. But when I first got out here, it was all about the voting laws and securing our votes. And so I worked really hard on that. And then just representing the people out there. You know, I've often said we listen to some more of the government agencies than we do the people. And I think it's important that we listen to the people.
And how do you get a good sense in your district of what your people would like you to do for them?
So we do a lot of town halls. We do 3 times during the session, we'll do a coffee with the legislators, so we get to hear from the people there. And then I just respond to all the emails that I can, so I'm really focused on that. But when it comes to town halls, we try to get some of those out there as well. And then on election year, we do a lot of forums, and I'm always available for that. And I always just try to make it to, if someone invites me, I usually try to make it to it.
Well, that's very good that you're a man of the people, so to say, literally. So let's talk a little bit about this thing called JFAC. What does JFAC stand for, and what does it do?
Well, JFAC is, in my opinion, it's the most powerful committee that we have. We're one of the only states that has a joint committee like that. And so it's the Joint Finance-Appropriations Committee.
Meaning between the House and the Senate.
Correct.
Equal representation.
Correct. So we've got 10 members of the Senate and 10 members of the House that sit on that committee.
And 2 co-chairs, one from the House, one from the Senate.
Yep, we got 2 co-chairs. And the reason I say it's the most powerful committee is because we control the money. We do all the budgets. And so we have to really dig in and take a look at what's being spent, how to spend it the right way. When I'm looking at budgets, one of the things that I really focus on is what's the proper role of government? What are we supposed to be spending money on, and how's that supposed to work? So that's kind of what we look at when we're there, is just figuring it out.
So let's talk a little bit about the budget.
Okay,
so December 2025 versus the previous year. So we went to the budget monitor. We looked at the January 2026 budget monitor, which, by the way, is available on the Idaho legislature website.
Yep.
So you can go see it yourself. Corporate income tax for the year was down about $81 million versus the previous year. Sales tax was down about $34 million. Individual tax was actually up almost $20 million. And the December monitor showed that we were about $40 million short of what we expected to end of the year. But the January one was $106 million to the positive. Can you just tell people the dynamics of why are all these numbers kind of moving around like this?
Well, so I've done a lot of digging into it, and I think one of the things that we're noticing is when the one big beautiful bill came into effect, and that had an effect on our state. I've heard stories of some of the businesses where it used to be amortized out for your R&D over a 5-year period.
Right.
And what the big beautiful bill did is you can do it all in one shot. And so I'm thinking that that's what happened is the businesses all took that all in one shot, which actually affected our income coming in from the business tax here in the state of Idaho. And then by the time December hit, they couldn't take it anymore. And so that's why January came in so strong. So
Yeah, and I imagine when something as big as the big beautiful bill happens, businesses are going to sit back and say, okay, let me pause, just see what my tax impact is, and then they kind of move more deliberately to figure out if they can benefit from it, then they'll make a move, and they have to adjust at the year end. And that's your whole point, is that they kind of digested the big beautiful bill.
Yep.
And this is why we have these swings in the numbers. Okay,
and I think we're going to
super
continue to
helpful.
see it go up. So I think we're on the right track.
Yeah, because there was a dramatic increase in the corporate income tax of 110 million to the positive. So that's really interesting. So now let's talk about, we always hear about the revenue number. So tell us what that means. Does the governor deliver one and you deliver one? I always hear there's different approaches to the revenue that we expect for the state.
So there is. So there's a couple of different approaches. JFAC has the final say on it, but the governor gives his opinion on what he thinks it's going to be. And then we have a committee, we call it ERAC, and they actually look into it, and that's an economic outlook. So they're trying to look and see what they think it'll be. This year, when we had the numbers come in, we kind of took the medium of what JRAC was, or what ERAC was looking at, and so that's where we came up with our number, and that's what JFAC finally decided to agree on.
Now, does the governor and the legislature use the exact same source to come up with the revenue number, or do you have independent looks at it? How does that work?
I think we use the same sources, but we have different people looking at it. And so I think that that's where some differences might come up, because he's got his staff that looks at it, and then we've got our staff that looks at it, and then you've got the committee that's looking at it as well. So you're getting.
So it's an executive branch look, a legislative branch, and then your committee is the final arbiter of all the opinions.
Correct. Yep. Correct.
Gotcha. Okay, so we start with a revenue number and maybe talk about how you've been looking at the number that you expect. What does that mean in terms of budgetary pressures this year? What are you trying to accomplish with the overall budget trajectory this year?
I think that what we're trying to accomplish is when we looked at the governor's budget, he left about $25 million on the bottom line. And we're a little bit concerned about that, especially when you look outside and you see that we haven't got a whole lot of water. So I'm worried about fire season. Right?
Okay.
And how much money we're going to be using on that. And so
Yes.
we got that. We've got a couple of other things that we got to worry about. So we like to give a little bit more of a buffer than that 25 million. And so we're looking at the budgets to figure out how do we cut without harming the people of Idaho and put money where it belongs, so that we're not overspending on certain things. Like I said, I look at what's our proper role of government. I mean, we should be taking care of our roads. That's one of the things we do.
Right.
We've got our education system. That's one of the things that we're supposed to do
Healthcare.
constitutionally. Healthcare. So,
Yep.
and then you got other things that you just have to kind of look at and say, is this something that we should be taking care of, and at what level should we be doing it?
Now, last year, the governor signed essentially the Idaho Act, where he cut back the budget about 3% across the board. He exempted education. So what was that in terms of the signal it was sending the legislature for this year? And do you think that the budget will be up, the same, down? Where we're going to end up?
Well, I think we're actually going to bring that up in JFAC and take a look at that. And so
Okay.
we're looking at what's it going to do with the 3% cut? What's it going to do if we add another percent to that, or another 2%? And so we have to look at what that balances out. And I think that most of the departments have been really, really good to work with. When we ask them, can you make something work here? Most of them are saying, yeah, we can probably work on it. So it's going to be a telltale on what we're going to do as far as the rest of the budgets go.
And I remember, I think it was the 2008, 2009 period where the budget was cut 20%. And you have to figure it out, because constitutionally you have a responsibility to deliver a balanced budget.
We do. And I look at it kind of like our own homes. When our own homes are down, we got to make cuts, and we got to figure out what the right cut's going to be.
Right. And so let's talk about the process that happens at JFAC. You probably see over 100 budgets?
Oh, yeah, easily.
Okay. So a couple of years ago, you guys changed the way in which this process was done. At one point, you basically, at the end of the session, deliver the entire budget of each agency. Now, you kind of have a baseline budget, which you then pass through and say, okay, now we're going to look at the incremental budget. Is that the change that's happened, and has that change been good for the process?
I think the change has been really good for the process because we got the maintenance budgets, and that's just telling them, okay, we're going to give you what you need to keep the lights on. And now let's take a look at what the requests are. And are they legitimate requests? Are there something that we feel that you need? And so it's easier for us to dive into the budget and actually look close at what they're trying to ask for so that we're not getting some things that they can probably hold off for a while. I'll give you a little bit of an example. We had the land board come up with the budget this year and come up and talk to us. And they came to us and said they need some new vehicles. Well, these vehicles have 190,000 miles on them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's probably time for a
Reasonable
vehicle.
request, yeah.
But we had another agency come in and ask for some new vehicles that only had 85,000 miles on it. So we got to weigh that out and say, okay, is there something that's really wrong that we need to fix, or are they coming to us and asking for something legitimate?
So let's talk about the big, beautiful bill and what's called conformity, right? So talk to people about what the big, beautiful bill has done to your process and what you're thinking. And then do you have a sense of the tax relief that Idahoans are likely to get because of the federal changes?
Okay. So we've already voted to conform. I think we left a couple of positions out that R&E, they call it now. So we left that one out. But so we've already voted on the House side.
And just remind people, what is conformity?
Conformity means that we're going to agree with what the federal tax side is.
Okay.
So that our budget, if we don't conform, it throws off the way that we do our taxes here in Idaho. So let's say we decided not to conform with the no tax on tips. If we didn't conform to that, well, then there'd have to be a different process in Idaho how to do that, and it makes it more difficult for the people of Idaho to figure that out as well. But we did conform on that part as well. But that's what conformity is just making sure that we're going to kind of go along with that so it makes it easier on the taxpayers. But it also, this year, is going to be giving some tax relief to people.
Right.
A lot of it's on the no tax on tips and no tax on overtime, and
Right.
Which I think is going to help, in my opinion, it's going to help businesses out. It helps my business out because my employees would be more willing to work some overtime if they know they're not going to be taxed on that money.
And Brandon, what business do you do? You should probably tell people you're an entrepreneur with your wife.
So I own 6 Jiffy Lube locations.
Oh, how fun.
Yes, we bought those in 2013. We bought 2 in 2013, and then 2019 we bought 4 more.
Wow. Well done. You're in the oil business. So it's been estimated that the big, beautiful bill may benefit Idahoans around $150 million, I think has been the estimate. So knowing that we've already done $6 billion of tax relief in the last 5 years, and I think that we're one of the lowest per capita total tax burdens in the country. How are you guys looking at what has always been a popular thing is that we always want to do more tax cuts with what we have? Is there still a desire to do more tax cuts on top of the big, beautiful bill that would be Idaho-centric?
I think the way that Idaho runs, I think there's always going to be a desire to cut taxes as much as we can. This year may not be the right year. We don't know until we start looking deeper into the budgets, but we're always looking at ways that we can make things better for the people of Idaho. And so I think that that's something that's just bred into us here in Idaho.
So tell me about the budget priorities in your mind this year. What are you looking most closely at in terms of the priorities?
Well, I know that our K through 12, we're going to preserve that. That's one of our biggest focuses, is making sure that that's taken care of. I think that the other one that we're really looking close at is ISP. We got to take care of them and figure out how we're going to.
Idaho State Police.
Yep, because we're losing a lot of police officers throughout the state. My district in particular, I know that I was talking to the chief last year. I was talking to him, and he had 1 officer on the streets that were covering like 3 counties. So It's not a lot out there. And so we're trying to figure out how do we protect those. And then some of the other things that we're really looking at, we got to look at the Medicaid expansion, because it's kind of growing into this enormous monster. And we got to figure out how do we get that under control, first off, and how do we protect it for those that need it. And we got to figure out how do we do that. And so that's one of the things we're really digging into is finding ways to make Medicaid work.
Let's pivot to another topic. And one of the bills that you're working on is a Second Amendment bill. Tell people about the nature of that bill and what are you trying to solve?
Okay. So what we've seen throughout the state, and it actually happened out in my district in Nez Perce, we're seeing that they're starting to build their courthouses with their county buildings. And we've got preemption laws that says they can't make stricter gun laws than we already have in the state. Well, what they're doing, because they're putting a courthouse and a county building together, they're blocking you from being able to carry even into the county portion of it. And so we're trying to fix that. So You can go in and vote. You can go in and pay your whatever you need to with the county and still be able to carry
And
your
still
firearm.
protect your Second Amendment rights.
Correct.
Okay, but not going to the courthouse with that,
going to
because
the
that's not
courthouse.
permitted.
Right. So we're going to block out the courthouse. We're going to block out any holding cells where they might have someone who is going to court. So we're going to be sure and protect all of that area as well still.
You told me, we were talking before, that you're going to run a bill on affidavits.
Uh-huh.
First of all, what is an affidavit, and what is the bill?
So the affidavit is when you go in to vote on the same day that you vote, you can fill out this paper and just sign it saying, yeah, I am who I am. Go ahead and vote. Then you got to come back later and show that you are. But by then the ballot's already been put in. So the vote's already been cast. And so the affidavits, we've seen some concerns or have some concerns with it being used dishonestly.
So you're saying that the affidavit, that vote is not set aside, it's then commingled, and you're like, that affidavit wasn't exactly accurate, but how are you going to get the vote back?
Right. You can't pull the vote back because we don't know where the vote's at. We don't know who it was.
So what's your thought? Well, what do you want to do with that?
So Senator Lenny has already introduced the bill on the Senate side, and basically it's just getting rid of the affidavit. If you go in to vote, you're going to take your ID in and show, yes, I am who I am.
I see.
And we've already put in so many different laws on the IDs that if you can't afford one, you still get a free one. And so there's a way to do it so that it's not stopping anybody from voting. It's just trying to secure it a little bit better.
And are you going to be carrying that bill in the House?
As soon as it gets through the Senate, yeah, I'll be taking over on the House side to carry it.
Okay, good. And then let's talk about foster care, which is real close to your heart, obviously. And remember Alex Adams, who is our former Idaho's Health and Welfare, now with the administration, the Trump administration, for Children and Family Department of Health and Human part of Health and Human Services. That was really on his heart, like the foster child, making it easier to have more foster families. The first day on the job, he immediately eliminated a lot of the red tape for fostering. Tell people a bit about what you thought about what he did, and is there more to do in terms of making it easier to foster children? And maybe talk a little about your personal experience with that.
And I don't know if there's more to do yet. We got to see how this all plays out with what he did. And I supported what his whole plan was because it actually brought down costs as well.
Right.
It's really
and time.
important. And time, yep. And I think, when I look at the foster care system and the adoption system and all that commingles, I worry that we've put too many regulations or too many rules in place because when you think about it, you've got like the LDS Church and the Catholic Church used to be some of the biggest ones to adopt kids out.
Yes.
They pulled out of it. And why'd they pull out of it? Is there too many regulations? But that was a tool that we had that is no longer available. So my passion on it, we've had throughout our life, me and my wife, we've probably had about 15 kids into our home.
Wow.
We got certified as a therapeutic foster home. We had some kids come in that really had a struggle in their life. Mm-hmm. I kind of like to tell this story because it kind of shows what kind of parents we need out there for foster care. And when they brought him in, it was a 5-year-old girl and her brother that was 4 years old. She could tell you vividly everything that had happened in their home and what had happened, but he didn't talk at 4 years old. He was still in a diaper. He just laid on the floor. When they brought him in, he just laid on the floor, and she said, just make sure his diaper's changed, make sure he eats. Nothing else you can do. He's just going to lay there. And about 2 weeks later, they called and said, how are they doing? I says, they're doing great. He's out playing with my son. And she dropped everything and came over. And she sat on her couch crying because she'd never seen him play. Wow. And she asked, what have you done? And I said, he just needs to know that he can trust the parents, right? Because they were abused really bad by their dad. Right. And so when a dad steps in that is going to protect them and take care of them, it pulls them out of that shell that they might be in.
Wow.
So we've had some pretty amazing experiences with foster kids.
Incredible job. And thank you for that work. That's amazing. Just thank you for taking that on. And the lives you're changing must be really just be gratifying.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it is.
So let's talk about one more thing that you mentioned earlier, and that is the America 250. So tell people what you're doing with the America 250 and how the average citizen can be a part of this.
Okay. So America 250 it's the semi-quincentennial. I had to learn how to say that word.
Yes, it's not easy.
But it's our 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration. A couple of things. So I'm the co-chair of the America 250 in Idaho Advisory Council. And we've got a bunch of people on there that are doing a great job, and we've come up with all these different ideas and plans that we're working on. One of them, you can see when you come to the Capitol, it's hanging in the middle of the Capitol,
Yes.
a big Declaration of Independence.
Signed by a lot of Idahoans, too,
Yep.
that are signing on to it.
Yep. And so what we're doing is we're going around the state and we're getting these signatures. We're going to add that all to it, and then that's going to go into the history archives.
How fun.
So if you want to sign it, look around the state. There's all kinds of places that we're actually doing that. We've also, Treasurer Ellsworth's done a great job. She's introduced the Spuddy Buddies.
Incredible.
They are amazing. They're all dressed up like our founding fathers.
And they travel around Idaho.
Totally. They've done a lot of traveling. As a matter of fact, Spud Revere went with me to Washington, D.C., when I had to go out there to talk about what we're doing here in Idaho.
And I imagine you went by land and not by sea.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. We're working on that. We just sent the Liberty Bell off that we have here to get refurbished.
Yep, to a foundry in South Carolina.
Yep. And so that's really interesting. That
But when it comes back, it's going to take a tour of Idaho.
Yep, so
and then
we're-
come back to the State House.
Our goal is to get it back in time to take the tour of Idaho so that we can put it back in place before the 4th of July celebration that we're going to be doing. We've done some seed money out to the counties and cities so they can have a celebration, because our whole goal with America 250, when we passed the concurrent resolution on that, is we want to have a celebration.
Yes.
I believe that it's time that we have something that can unite us. Amen. And I think that this America 250 is an opportunity for us to just unite around what we all believe in, the freedoms that we enjoy,
Yes.
the nation that we're so proud of. And
You know, one other thing that's tangentially connected to that is I know that you are into service, public service, community service. So I know that there's been an effort, a group is really, and we're trying to become like the superstars of the whole country. Tell people about this service model and what they're doing and why you're so involved in it, and put out the challenge for everybody else to join.
okay, absolutely. And this is something that we're really excited about. We did a resolution here on the House floor, and what it is we're shooting for 250,000 acts of service in the state of Idaho. There's an organization called Just Serve, and Just Serve, they put out different service projects that you can do around, and then you get you get called a service city if you have so many acts, and we had the most cities in the state of Idaho. So we asked them, what would it take to become a...
Wait, in Idaho or the country?
Well, throughout the country. So our state had the most out of all the other states.
Incredible.
Yep. And so we asked them, what does it take to become a Just Serve state? And so we actually pulled that off in the resolution, because this is our year of volunteerism. This is the year that we're going to pull together. We're going to do 250,000 acts of service. We've already got a great start on it. And if you go to the Idaho website, you can do a search for America 250 in Idaho, and you go on
It's
there.
like the state website.
That's our state website, and you can sign up as ambassadors. There's a link on there for you to record your service, and so that's how we're trying to pull people together. And service, in my opinion, it gives us that unity that I'm trying to find. Right. When you serve others, you learn to love others.
Right, and you get yourself outside yourself and starting to focus on other people.
Totally.
Which is always a good thing to do.
Yep, it is.
Anyway, we've been very blessed to spend some time with Brandon Mitchell, who represents Legislative District 6, and he's in his 3rd term. Yes, the Boy Scout guy, Jiffy Lube owner, therapeutic foster parent, scuba instructor, taekwondo.
Yep.
Just nothing you don't do. But we're glad that we got to get to know you a little bit more, and we just thank you for joining us on the Idaho House Republicans podcast. And until we see you for our next episode, as we always say, God bless the great state of Idaho. Thank you, Brandon Mitchell.
Absolutely. Thank you.
From timber towns to wheat field roads, different roads, but the same old hope. We bow our heads and we stand up tall, answering the people when